Okay, now I have on the phones the legendary Ian Anderson, the founder member and frontman of the legendary British progressive folk rock band Jethro Tull. Ian, thank you for calling in.
Pleasure. Nice to talk to you.
Now, you've got a kind of special solo tour coming up, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Thick as a Brick.
I can see mathematics was not one of your strong points. It's actually 40 years.
40 years,
1972, the original album, and it's a follow-up in a sequel sense, but it's not like what happened next, i.e. what happened in 1973 or 74. It's a giant leap 40 years into the future to, I suppose, look at the fundamental changes in 40 years that those of us old enough to remember them can well experience, and perhaps for people who are starting out their lives today might contemplate in the sense of the certain knowledge that 40 years from now things will be probably just as different again.
Yeah, I've got to admit, the original Thick as a Brick is one of my favourite Tull albums. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the phone, it's genuinely true. The whole idea of the character of Gerald Bostock, where did you cook that up from?
Well, it was at a time, really, when, I suppose, in the early 70s, we were entering into that heyday of what was originally called progressive rock, and then got shortened in a slightly derogatory way to prog rock, as the music of, yes, early Genesis, King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer took on ever more bombastic and self-serving tones. So, deservedly, prog rock got a bad name. But in all of that music, from those bands and many others, there were often some really great moments, really adventurous and clever, intelligent, well-thought-through music being played. So, in a way, whilst respecting the better of what came out around that period of time, I also just really enjoyed the opportunity to parody that kind of approach, to make a spoof of the concept album, the prog rock genre. So I was kind of taking the mickey out of some of our peer groups of the time, but in doing so, of course, an element of seriousness crept in as well. So what I guess began as a spoof ended up being kind of 50-50, being a bit of a put-on, a bit of a joke, and being serious music. And some people got the joke straight away, some people didn't get it straight away but did later, and I suspect, rather worryingly, there are probably certain people in various places, probably not in the UK or Australia, where our senses of humour would allow us the cultural advantage of knowing a joke when we hear one. But maybe maybe sometimes in America, some non-native English-speaking countries of the world, where they probably took it very seriously as a prog rock album and didn't get the joke at all. So it's kind of interesting because it sits there somewhere between being a spoof and being the thing that it was actually setting out to lampoon. It became a concept album of prog rock, but whatever it is, it's kind of fun to play, and there are some elements of seriousness in it, things that I feel make it a worthy starting point for the Tab 2 sequel 40 years later, where I'm kind of looking at what might have happened to the little fictitious child poet who supposedly wrote the lyrics back in 1972. What would he be doing today? What various things might have befallen him? And what would have happened to the St. Cleeve Chronicle, the 16-page newspaper that formed the packaging of the original album? What would that be today? Well, it obviously wouldn't be a newspaper, since they're all out of print. They can't make any money, especially the little parochial community newspapers. So it would be online, of course it would. So stcleve.com, which exists in the real cyberspace world, as well as in my head, is a place you can go to see the packaging of the new album and see all about life in the slow lane of the parishes of St. Cleeve, Linwell and Little Craddock.
Yeah, I shall look that up immediately. stcleve.com, yeah?
stcleve.com, simple as that, yes. St. Cleeve, all one word, stcleve.com. But the easy one to remember, just go to iananderson.com or jethrotull.com and follow the signposts.
Okay, you have done a lot of character-based work with Tull over the years. I'm thinking of like the character of Aqualung on the Aqualung album and the Ray Lomax character. Was it Lomas?
Yeah, Lomas.
Yeah, on Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. Do you like working with sort of telling character stories? Because a lot of your one-off tracks as well are kind of got very strong, well, very strongly character-led.
Yeah, well, I'm not very good at heart-on-the-sleeve lyrics. You know, I'm not a kind of, you know, Alanis Morissette with a flute. I'm not very good at telling you about me and pouring out my emotions and my inner problems and anguishes. I'm not very good at doing that. I'm actually more of a portrait painter, and I think probably because of my initial effort to study fine art and to be active in drawing and painting, I think it was a translation into making music that for me was pretty easy, or transition into music was pretty easy, because I was just dealing with line and form and tone and colour, you know, words that are used to describe both the painterly arts and the musical arts. So it was a kind of a natural shift for me, and indeed many musicians of then, and I expect now. You know, most of Britain's great musicians seem to have started off at art college, not at music college. So, I mean, musicians of the pop and rock era, we all seem to have been art students originally. So, having done that, it seemed quite logical in a way to be writing lyrics and making music, which was sort of somewhere between portraiture and landscape. I mean, I don't like a close-up portrait that just focuses too tightly on the personality and character. I need to put it in a context. So I rather like that sort of, you know, people in a landscape kind of idea. I like the idea of placing my characters in a context that enriches them, and they too enriched by their presence. So that's trying to make it sound too intellectual. It's about writing songs about people. But very often they're not real people. Very often they're people into which I've brought a little of my own personality, or borrowed the personality or the experiences of somebody that I really know about, some friend or acquaintance, or I'm sometimes using other people too. Not in a way that I think they would ever be able to spot themselves in one of my songs. I hope that's the case, because I think it's a terrible betrayal to write songs overtly about somebody else. But yeah, I'm a kind of musical portrait painter. I like singing songs about people, partly imaginary people, but partly invested with the real elements of character that come from either me in the autobiographical sense or from somebody else around me.
Yeah, because one of my favourite, well, probably my favourite Tull track of all time is probably Mountain Men from The Quest of a Knave. And that's a good example of that, is it not? Of like characters and the portrait and the history, all your kind of all the kind of ideas that kind of make your writing up for Tull kind of fused into one nice 6.5 minute nugget.
Well, thanks very much for all the complimentary words. I mean, it is just trying to stretch things out a little bit to find, I guess, things to write about that either people haven't written about before or they've not written about in that way. So I'm sure I'm not the only person to have written a song about homeless people. Well, in fact, to have on 2 or 3 occasions made reference in songs to homeless people. But, you know, maybe I just do it in a way that you know, allows me to be me in musical terms, and is not too directly comparable with somebody else's work. But if all I ever did was write love songs, I mean, then I would be facing, in my own mind anyway, endless comparison with 1,000,001 other people, because some stuff has sort of been written to death, hasn't it? I mean, many years ago, William Shakespeare wrote a song called A Lover and His Lass. There was a lover and his lass with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no and a hey nonny no, all very quaint and, you know, rather sort of Elizabethan Spinal Tap. But the reality is, it has something about it which is very meaningful today. And, you know, if Shakespeare did it, the chances are everybody who tried to write a halfway decent love song since then, you know, is going to be following in the footsteps of either Shakespeare or Robbie Burns or someone who's actually taken it to a wonderful level that few of us could ever hope to master or reach again. So I guess part of me, I'm just a coward. I'm afraid to try and write stuff and just not do it as well. So I think I'd probably carve out a little bit of territory for myself to write songs about that is less likely to suffer from comparison with the great works that have gone before.
Right, now, coming back to your current stuff. You're on tour starting on the 14th of April up in Perth, and you're rumbling into Bristol at the Colston Hall on the 28th of April.
Yes, I will indeed be rumbling because I travel by train. So the others will, I think, probably be in a bus. Actually, 3 of the guys live in Bristol, so Bristol's our kind of our home port, really. So yeah, Bristol is an easy one. It's kind of what I call a home run. It's just half an hour down the train tracks for me.
Yeah. So this tour, it's a solo tour as opposed to a Tull tour.
Well, it's not billed as Jethro Tull. It's billed as Ian Anderson. I'm having my Roger Waters moment, you see, because Thick as a Brick was my baby back in 1972, and birth was recently given to my grandson, Thick as a Brick 2, Tab 2. So, you know, these are my children and grandchildren in musical terms. So, you know, it's not something that I feel. I feel no embarrassment about calling this Ian Anderson, because most of the work that I do, increasingly so over the last 10 years, has been billed as Ian Anderson rather than simply as Jethro Tull. So, of course, Jethro Tull is the band that I'm the founder member of and the front man of and have written all the music for. So, you know, I tend to let the Jethro Tull sneak in there, but in a way, in many countries of the world, it keeps the riff-raff at home if I use my own name, because when it's simply billed as Jethro Tull, it does sort of flag up in some people's mind that they're coming to a rock concert, because all they know about Jethro Tull is a few of the more rocky elements in the music over the years, and so it can bring out the beer drinking buddies who come out already having had a few cans of nasty beer, and who whistle and hoot and holler and generally get in my face and bother the rest of the audience. So partly for that reason, I tend, and I'm thinking here not about the UK, because I don't have a problem in the UK or in Germany or Switzerland, but in certain countries of the world, you know, simply going out as Jethro Tull will cause me a little bit of a problem when I play some of the more acoustic material. And I won't name the countries, but they are those that perhaps are more associated with raucous behaviour, and so that's one of the reasons I do it. And since I have an album and a tour, it's international. I have to stick with one identity. I can't keep, you know, 1 minute saying it's Jethro Tull, 1 minute is Ian Anderson. I've got to stick with one thing for the next year, essentially, in terms of the billing of this tour.
Yeah, because I was just looking at your tour dates on the website, and that's an impressive tour. You're on going through through to November, aren't you, at the moment?
Well, it sort of goes on actually quite a bit long. I mean, on the website are only the tickets, those for which tickets are currently on sale. There are lots of other shows this year already contracted or in discussion that are yet to go and be publicised, because we don't put them on our website until punters can actually go and buy tickets. So, yeah, there's quite a few more to come, and it does stretch through to the end of the year, because I finish off with, as usual, 2 or 3 shows in churches and cathedrals when I do the kind of Christmas charity concerts that I do, which are really a nice way for me, personally speaking, finishing up the year, just to do a little bit of, you know, kind of Christmassy and family stuff, not in too cosy and smiley way, because I try and make some of the music a bit edgy, but it's something that always rounds off the year for me to do, as I have for a few years now, some of those things towards the end of the calendar year. But these tours probably will extend into 2013 because of our trying to fit everything in, really. You know, we possibly leave Latin America, you see, until 2013, Australia, and some outdoor shows in the USA. But yeah, it's you know, busy. Nice to be busy, especially at my age. It's nice to try and get out of the house once in a while.
Yeah. Well, so we better wind up there, because I know that you're a busy man, and I've got people looking at me through the studio door. So I want to say thanks for calling in. All the best for the tour, and hopefully we'll have a chat again sometime soonish.
Jolly good. Well, very nice to talk to you, and thanks very much for your help, and see you in a few weeks' time.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Ian Anderson, thank you very much, mate. Bye.